It's just interesting that for many of us, being single would be worse than being in a bad relationship. Is it really worth it to have a partner that makes me feel unworthy, that takes advantage of my kindness, that takes me for granted, that doesn't appreciate or reciprocate all the things that I do, that doesn't meet me at least where I'm at? You know what I mean? That I'm giving this much effort and he's like, yeah, I'll just get by with this. Is being single really worse than that? So I get the option of basically dealing with a bunch of mess and fussing and fighting and issues and dysfunction, or being by my lonesome fabulous self. What? That don't even feel like a hard choice. Hey boo, this is Nika and I am pleasantly unbothered. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. In case you're not familiar, this channel is dedicated to sharing all of the tips and tricks and tools and gems and all the good things that helped me to go from being unhappy and insecure and self-conscious to being, well, pleasantly unbothered. Anyhow. One of the things I talk about a lot is relationships, and that's mainly because although I haven't always had the best relationships, they have always been incredibly helpful in helping me to learn some of those lessons and teaching me a lot of things, not only about myself but about men, about life, about like connections, you know. It's taught me a lot. And today I just feel like I gotta talk about one thing that's been on my mind for a long time, and it keeps coming up in my comment section, even in the emails you guys are sending me to the Unbothered email address in case you want to write me. I also have a PO box now in case you want to like write me, you know. Anyway, I digress. But I'm noticing that so many of us are so afraid of letting go of one situation or one opportunity or one relationship because we're petrified that nothing better than that might come along. And when I say some of us, believe me, I am at the top of that list because I have encountered this time and time again. Apparently, I can only learn things the hard way and repeatedly. I don't know what that's about. But I have definitely been in the position of thinking like, well, I know this is not quite working. I know that this is not quite what I want. I know that I'm not exactly happy, but at least I have this thing, you know, at least I have this job, or at least I have this person or this relationship or whatever it may be, even though it's not really working. And it reminds me of that saying that if you can't love the one you want, love the one you're with, or whatever that BS is, which I think is terrible advice. Don't listen to that, okay? Do not listen to that, because I feel like it'll have you just ready to settle for whatever comes your way or whatever you happen to have. And the more that we wonder, you know, is this the best that I can do? Is this the best it's gonna get for me? Is this pretty much all I can pull, you know? Whatever it is that we're wondering, the more inclined we are to stay in that situation because we just are, you know, we feel stuck. Like, I know Nika says that there's somebody out there for everybody, and every pot has its cover, and every moldy bread has its moldy cheese. That one is from my mom, you're welcome. But what if this really is the best that I can do? What if there really is nobody else out there for me? What if, as a plus size girl per se, just saying, just perhaps someone thought this at some point, what if as a plus size girl my options are limited and there are only so many guys that I can consider in the first place? So what if I throw this one back because it's not really working, but then nothing else comes along? Or what comes along next, or who comes along next, is even worse than this one. Like, it's like out of the frying pan and into the fire, right? Or what if I just never find anybody else and I end up being the dreaded S word? Single. I'm talking about being single. And I feel like it's a very natural and normal thing to want companionship, to want a partner, to want a relationship, a committed relationship, monogamy, whatever it may be. So I'm definitely not mocking, you know. It's just interesting that for many of us, being single would be worse than being in a bad relationship. and I don't get it anymore. I used to get it. I used to get it, you know what I mean? I used to get it because I was so desperate for a relationship, for love, because I did just want to be noticed. I did just want someone to tell me that I was pretty and that I was smart and brilliant and all the things that I either knew about myself or wanted to think about myself. And so I know what it feels like to really want that, and to be willing to sacrifice certain parts of myself in order to get that or hold on to that. But the more I did that, the more I was settling for less than what I deserved, essentially, and the more inclined I felt to continue on in those situations. So if I were already with this person for 2 years and it was a flop, it was ongoing, but I wasn't happy, I wasn't satisfied, I wasn't content, I didn't really see myself with this person, instead of like cutting it off as soon as I realized that, I would keep it going, because it's like, well, I already put 2 years into this, so let's see if something pays off eventually, you know what I mean? And I feel like, ooh, we gotta do a separate video about this. We got to do a separate video about this. I feel like so many men in particular, not to men bash, okay, but that's who I have experience with, so I'm just sharing my experience. I have noticed in my dealings with men that a lot of them expect to skate by on their potential forever and ever without ever having anything materialize out of that. And if you feel me, let me know in the comments and we will do a whole video about this, because I got a lot to say, okay? I don't want to get too off track. But I feel like there have been so many situations where I invested time and energy and devotion and commitment and love and all kinds of stuff with people, particularly ones that I felt like had a large deal of potential. And we've talked about this a little bit before, you know, he's got a job, check. He's got a car, check. He's not completely rude to me, check. You know, all these little things. First of all, there's so many other like boxes that have been added to that list since I've grown up a bit, you know. There's so many other deal breakers that are like minimum requirements for me. And again, we could talk about that in another video too if you want, you know. But back then, the bar was set so low that it didn't really take much to impress me, you know? It didn't really take much to win me over or to have me get caught up in somebody and start to feel invested in them and start to root for them and want to do things for them and want to just love them out of their misery, you know, and just love them until the pain goes away and all this stuff that I feel like is kind of BS now. But bless younger Nika's heart, bless her heart. She was so sweet. And believe me, I'm still plenty sweet now, or at least I'd like to think so, right? But what I've learned over the years is how to balance all of that sweetness and all of that understanding and all of that, you know, looking into their potential thing and, you know, all of that. How to balance that with also prioritizing what I need and prioritizing my happiness and whether or not the situation works for me. Because I tell you, it can be so just like easy to be in a bad situation that still feels comfortable just because it's familiar to us, you know? It's like that saying that the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know, or some outlook. I'm quoting a lot of stuff that I'm not really sure about today, don't mind me. But basically going to say that if we're in a unfulfilling or a bad or toxic or dysfunctional situation, it's like at least we know what it is, you know, we're familiar with it, we're comfortable there because we've been through this, you know, we have that emotional baggage already packed in there for the situation, so it's like it's a bit easier to stay. Whereas if we leave, we don't know what else we're going to encounter out there. It might be better, it might be worse. And is that fair that keeps a lot of us holding on? And I think they know it. I'm telling you, I think they know it. I think they're onto us or something, right? They know how sweet and understanding and accommodating and nurturing and helpful and healing and all these things that we are. They know all this about us. And so they take advantage and they just be using us to get what they want, and they don't give the same in return and everything. Look, don't get me started, okay? And so what I'm thinking is, what if instead of wasting our time choosing between the lesser of the two evils, you know, choosing the least bad situation and settling for that, what if we could actually feel comfortable and confident in walking away from situations and from people that don't serve us or are not giving us what we need? Why exactly do we feel so comfortable wasting time with people who either don't deserve us, with opportunities or jobs or whatever the case is that really aren't what we want, when we are looking for something different? And believe me, I know it's so much easier said than done, because again, I've been here, there, everywhere. I don't know, I've been there countless times before, and I know that feeling. You know, I know that feeling of how hard it is to walk away from something, how easy it can be to want to give another chance because you genuinely want this thing to last. You genuinely want it to work. And so aside from all the manipulative things that they do to keep us in these situations, which again is another video, it's like it can be so tempting to just be like, okay, well, one more chance, you know, one more chance. Maybe this is the time, maybe next time, maybe he means it this time, maybe she's for real this time. And we just pour more time in. We pour more time, and every day extra that we stay is another day that we have invested, and it's another day that's like time served that they're getting credit for. Because I know a lot of people like to throw around like the length of time they've been with someone, like, oh, we've been together for 10 years, we've been together for 15. That's great, you know, nothing against anyone's relationships, no shade, no nothing like that. But it's like, were y'all happy that whole time? Was it a functional, communicative relationship? Were you guys at least working on things even if you weren't 100% happy all the time? Or could that have been 10 years of toxicity? That's the word, right? 10 years of dysfunction, or 10 years of being gaslighted or abused or disregarded or taken for granted. You know what I mean? So 10 years, I mean, it sounds impressive, but for me personally, just my humble opinion, the true measure of a relationship is not how long you were together, but how good of a relationship it was, you know, how satisfied you were in it, how much you guys grew together, how much you guys learned together, how much you appreciated each other, how much of a partnership you've developed, how much of a power couple you became, you know. These are the things that I look at, again, in my humble opinion. And so this is definitely not me telling you to go quit your job or to go get a divorce or to move out of your boo's house or whatever the case is. If that's something you feel like you need to do with your personal life and your personal freedom of choice and such, then please feel free, right? But this is not me giving that advice to be like, girl, leave him, he's no good. That's not what this is, right? What I am saying though is that it might be wise to take a look at your priorities, at your deal breakers, at the things that work for you, the things that don't, whether it's in a professional capacity or in your personal life, in your romantic life, wherever it may be. Take a look at those things and figure out whether or not the things that are going on in your life right now are in line with your desires and your preferences, or if they're not. And if they're not, it sounds like it's time for a change, right? Again, not telling you to leave, not telling you to quit, just disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. But it might be time for you to reassess and make a change, because otherwise you're really selling yourself short if you're settling for less than you deserve, less than you're worth, less than you want, less than you've worked for. Like, if you're settling for any of these things, you are getting shortchanged and you are allowing it to happen. You're the one. You letting it happen, girl. Or boy, or boo, you know. Once you come to the realization that you deserve love and happiness and to be cared for and respected and to be treated as an equal and all of these other wonderful things that can come with a good relationship, and that's just a couple, right? Once you know you deserve all of that, it becomes a lot harder to accept anything less than that. Because again, you realize that you're shortchanging yourself, and there's no need for that when you know that you deserve more. And even with all of that said, it can still be really hard to make those changes, because like we started with, those fears, they get in the way. The fear of, what if I end up single? What if I end up alone? What if I become the spinster in the family? What if my mom reminds me that I'm unmarried every single time that I see her? What if all of my married or coupled up friends decide that they want to show me pity because I'm all alone and single? You know, like, there's so many things that we fear, or at least that I've noticed, either in my own life or in my communications with you guys. And I really want us to explore that in some upcoming videos. Because the way I see it, being single is not the worst thing that could possibly ever happen to me. Just quite honestly, you know, again, there was a time in my life when it would have been on the list. It would have been on the list. But the priorities have shifted and really fallen into place a lot more for me personally. And I gotta say, I'd totally rather be single than to be in a relationship and unhappy, in a relationship and fussing and fighting all the time, in a relationship and stressed about said relationship or about the future of said relationship, in a relationship and wondering what he's doing, wondering what he's thinking, wondering if he loves me because he says it but he don't show it. Like, look here, those are things that I'd rather not have. So if it means that the alternative to that is being single, that doesn't sound so bad. Honestly, hand to God, like, that really doesn't sound so bad if that's the alternative. Is it really worth it to have a partner that makes me feel unworthy, that takes advantage of my kindness, that takes me for granted, that doesn't appreciate or reciprocate all the things that I do, that doesn't meet me at least where I'm at? You know what I mean? That I'm giving this much effort and he's like, yeah, I'll just get by with this. Is being single really worse than that? Come on now. So I get the option of basically dealing with a bunch of mess and fussing and fighting and issues and dysfunction, or being by my lonesome fabulous self. What? That don't even feel like a hard choice. Anyway, that's just my personal, again, humble take on this whole thing. Please, please, please let me know in the comment section down below what you think. Let me know what some of your fears are when it comes to dating or relationships or being single or whatever the case is. What do you think about that? Are you content with the idea of being single forever ever? You know, if the right guy doesn't come along. And I know forever's a long time. I know I'm asking for a lot, right? And to clarify, I'm not asking you to be single. I'm asking you if you'd be open to the idea of being single forever. Because a lot of you have mentioned that in the comment section, that you're content with the thought of not having a partner for the rest of your life or for the foreseeable future, because the offers that are on the table are just not good enough. And I feel like it's heartbreaking to me that that's the option, or that's the reason you have to choose that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that you don't want somebody or that you don't want a partnership. It's that the options ain't good enough. So you're like, whatever, I just won't have one. And so that makes me a little bit sad, because those shouldn't be the options. It shouldn't be that limited that it's like, okay, I'll take a D grade man or no man at all. Like, that's sad. That's real sad. Because I feel like our men, these men, they can be doing so much better. They are fully capable. All that potential they have that we give them so much credit for, all of those attributes that have us dedicating time and energy and love and all this other stuff, that potential exists, but like, where the outcomes at? Like, where's it at? Who's actually developing this potential into some tangible result? We need stuff we can feel, guys. I know that I can't expect to skate by on potential forever, so why should somebody else get that benefit? That doesn't make sense to me. It's not fair and it's not right. Anyhow, let me know what you think. Even if not you, do you know of anyone who feels like being single is the absolute worst thing? Do you know of anyone who is currently settling for a relationship that they deserve better than? Do you know of anyone who just cannot be single, cannot be by themselves? They cannot. And so they'd rather deal with less than they deserve. If you can relate to this video in any way at all, please let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from you, either by commenting down below. You can also email me at this email address right here. right up in here. I also do have a PO box, so if you want to write me, like write me a letter, please feel free. I'd love to open them and read them and like get to know you and write you back maybe and stuff like that, you know. But yeah, any information you need to contact me is in the description box right down there. So clickety click if you want social media stuff, email stuff, PO box stuff, other information, it's all in there. Go get you some, you know what I mean. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I feel like I've come so far, so I can't really just stop now, you know what I mean. Okay. If you enjoyed this video, please do the thumbs up thing before you head out, and I also hope that I will see you in my next video. Bye. As much as I want to be like, it's time to let him go, sis. Like, I know that I can't do that. But I also know that I don't have to do that, because you know if it's time to leave him. Or you knew it was time. You know what I mean? You knew. I don't gotta tell you nothing, you already know. You knew. Even if you didn't leave him, you knew it was time to leave him.